Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Alejandra Sartuche, and I'm the CEO at Enflux. And before we start, I want to go through some housekeeping items. All participants are muted. Please use the Zoom webinar Q&A so that you can ask questions. And today's session is going to be recorded and will be provided after the session. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them at the Q&A. We'll be looking at the questions so that we can answer them at the end of the presentation. As I mentioned, I'm Ale Sertuche, and I'm the CEO at Enflux, and I'm pleased to be presenting with Betty Ho, the Principal Product Marketing Manager at ExamSoft. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you all know, and I think you're aware, we think about ExamSoft data as a goldmine of untapped potential. It's rich with insights that are waiting to be uncovered, and we're going to discuss how to just do that, how to uncover these insights. Do you find yourself sometimes bogged down in the manual tagging or overwhelmed by the sheer volume of competencies or outcomes to track? We are here to address that. We're here to provide you with some solutions. Here's what the partnership between Enflux and ExamSoft comes into play. ExamSoft is a powerful and secure assessment solution that delivers insights into student, course, and program performance through data. Enflux takes this data to the next level by pulling it all together and integrating it with other data sources. So we're pulling this data and enhancing it through integration with other key data sources like your experiential learning assessments, standardized testing, board exams, and more. So what's the result of this partnership? The result is that Enflux customers have access to actionable insights from various sources at your fingertips, enabling you to make more informed and timely decisions. So get ready to take some notes. You won't want to miss the valuable information that we're going to share today. Betty, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, before we get started, Betty, I want to share with everybody my journey. As you know, I was an ExamSoft customer when I started working at the Fike School of Pharmacy. So you might be wondering why the partnership matters to me personally. Well, it isn't just a recent development. This story began so many years ago. I can't believe that it's a little bit more than 12 years ago. So let me take you back to those years. I started as a student employee helping the Fike School of Pharmacy analyze all of their data so that they could complete their self-study. So this collaboration with ExamSoft is deeply rooted in the real-world challenges I have faced myself. In 2012, I became the director of assessment after completing my MBA. And I was dealing with complexities of managing and wrestling with a lot of assessment data, a lot of Excel spreadsheets. I still remember those days where we needed to complete about 100% tagging in ExamSoft so that we could generate student report cards and see how the students were performing on desired competencies. Well, this process required me to download the data from ExamSoft, clean it up, and create personalized reports for faculty that I can email them and say, hey, these are your questions missing categories. Can you please tag your questions? Let me know when you're done so I can double check. Well, they would let me know that they were done. I would go through the whole process again to find out that a lot of questions were still missing categories. And this will be an iteration of 2-3 times until I had a good quantity of questions that were correctly tagged with the learning outcomes. So this daily struggle kind of gave me that epiphany of saying there has to be a better way. And at the Fike School of Pharmacy, I started automating some of these reports so I wouldn't be spending a lot of time on spreadsheets. And in 2017, that's how Enflux was born. It wasn't just connecting with ExamSoft, but we were connecting also to Canvas, board exams, experiential learning system like Core Higher Education Group. And Enflux automated not just the data integration, but the analysis, reporting, saving precious time because I've been there. I understand how much time you might be spending on spreadsheets, but I knew that there were still room for improving tagging. So in 2020, we became partners. ExamSoft and Enflux became partners, and it has been an incredible journey. I knew that item tagging wasn't just what we were doing, we could do more. And I knew that item tagging wasn't just a task, it's the backbone of our educational system. Data from item tagging enhances teaching, identifies students at risk, aligns the curriculum, and ensures accreditation compliance. It's a goldmine of insights that needed to be tapped efficiently. And that's when CompetencyGenie came. The realization that item tagging is the backbone of our assessment and student data gave the birth to CompetencyGenie, which is our first AI tool that automatically identifies the competencies that you're assessing in your exam items or your assessment items. So we're really excited to show you that today. But as I mentioned, I wanted to share my story as someone who has been where you are now, facing the same challenges and seeking solutions. So today we're going to explore not only CompetencyGenie, but also the partnership with ExamSoft, and we're going to delve into the power of competency-based tagging and how it can redefine our approach to education. Hopefully that long story gave some people time to join today's session, which, as I mentioned, we're going to discuss the importance and the benefits of tagging, explore CompetencyGenie, which is our AI tool, discuss the best practices of leveraging category tagging in ExamSoft, and discover the collaborative approach of Enflux and ExamSoft. So benefits of category tagging. I continuously see 3 loops in assessment. You have the loop of the educator, the assessment loop for the educator, you have the one for the student, and you have the one for curriculum evaluation. For the educator, you start by planning. The professor starts planning, setting objectives, they do the teaching, then they do the assessment, they collect all the data, they analyze this data, and they identify areas for continuous quality improvement, and we start with the loop all over again. The benefit of these loops is that you improve teaching methods, enhance student learning, and adapt to student needs. Now, as for the student starts by preparing. They're studying. They study before going to the classroom. Then they go to the classroom and they engage. They participate. Then from there, they'll have assessments where they can be assessing their attainment of knowledge. Then they get this data and they'll analyze the trends and how they're performing. And they should definitely take a look at that and identify areas where they need to make improvement so that they can modify their way of studying, their way of engagement, so that they can continuously improve their performance and master the desired competencies. Now, on the other side, we have curriculum effectiveness, and all of these are similar, but they're at different levels. Curriculum effectiveness, the program starts by defining the objectives. They set the goals, and sometimes these goals come from accreditation standards. Then from there, they're collecting data from a lot of different sources. As we mentioned, didactic education, clinical evaluations, standardized testing, board exams, and more. They're bringing all of this data, and usually the assessment committee or the program directors and faculty are looking at the data and the trends and interpreting the results, because they need to identify any areas of opportunity where they can make adjustments. Once they make adjustments, they go through the loop all over again. So the trend here is data. That's why item tagging is extremely important, because item tagging provides data to all of these different loops. Now, what you're seeing right here is one of our reports at ExamSoft, at Enflux. And what you're seeing here is that this is the view for an educator, but the educator can see how their students have performed in their course year over year. And they can see that the students from the fall of 2016 were struggling with this competency. And because the professor improved teaching methods, or they were enhancing student learning, they were adapting to their needs, the students were performing better. Now, this is just an example and it's demo data. I know that going from a 69 to a 73 might not be too drastic, But we have seen great improvements when educators are using these reports. But if you're not tagging your questions, these reports cannot be generated. Now, for the students, it's a similar report, but they can see their performance in the program so that they can identify areas for improvement, become more active in their own education, and they can be more targeted about what do I need to do in my study plan so I can master the desired learning outcomes over time. Now, for the curriculum evaluation, they need this view from different data sources. And once again, they need people to be tagging their questions so that they can quickly see, do we have any gaps? Where do we need to improve performance? And they can ensure alignment with accreditation requirements. Now, once again, the three of them depend on data. Data is the keystone. Without accurate and relevant data, none of the loops can be effectively closed, hindering educational improvement. So the challenges for effectively closing the loops is faculty are not tagging, manual tagging is time-consuming and error-prone, or there's an overwhelming number of competencies. And Betty today will share with you how to set up ExamSoft correctly so that you don't have these difficulties. Now, when we started Enflux, as I mentioned, we were helping programs identify questions that were missing required categories. And I wanted to add some quotes from our customers so that you can see how much time we have saved them with what we have. This solution is not the AI solution. This is before the AI solution. Like UT Health at Austin mentions that it used to take them a whole week to identify which questions were missing required categories. And that activity went from a whole week to 4 hours. Florida A&M was able to complete 100% tagging of years of data within a month of using Enflux. And that helped them meet their accreditation reporting needs in record time. So how does that report look like? I created a video where I can show you that we have all the data. We can filter the data by item writer, and it quickly tells you, based on your program, how many questions from that professor is missing the required categories. And we give you a list of those questions. You can click on any of those questions so that you can get a direct link to ExamSoft so that you can go and tag your question. And then you go one by one. As you can see, this is a huge improvement, but I, as an engineer and as a person that cares about assessment, I knew there had to be a better way. And that's why we created CompetencyGenie so that you don't have to do this one by one, because it still depends on faculty going in and having the time to tag their questions. Oops, trying to click. So CompetencyGenie. CompetencyGenie is free. We'll share the link with all of you. Right now, we have the Bloom's taxonomy, and I'll show you also our beta version. But CompetencyGenie, it starts with the original taxonomy and revised taxonomy. You can do one question at a time. So in here, we have one question. I can click classify, and it quickly tells me that it's synthesis. Great, but one question at a time might not be ideal if you have an exam with 100 questions. So thinking about that, you can either do one by one, or you can do by batch. When you go to batch, you can just drop that file. I have too many things open here. You can drop the file. Oops. Let me drop the file right there and click classify. Keep in mind, this is our first version of CompetencyGenie. It's a free tool. It takes a few seconds to process. And then at the bottom, you have your questions, and it's telling you what the Bloom's taxonomy is. Now, we need your feedback. It's AI. AI, it's not 100% accurate. It gets better with more data. So you can let us know if it's accurate, or you can let us know if you don't agree and what you think is the best fit for this question. After you do that, you can send us the feedback. From here, you can download this data as an Excel file. And when you do, let me share my download. Let me open the document. When you do, you get all of your questions all classified in an Excel file so that you can go and classify in ExamSoft. Let me click on exam. Let me see. And this is the way it looks. Can you all see the Excel spreadsheet? Perfect. So you see the item text, the prediction, and then it gives you the probability. So you have everything in one place. Now let's go back to CompetencyGenie. The reason I want to come back here is because we understand that some schools use a more of a tailored or customizable way of doing Bloom's taxonomy. So then you can come in here and say, you know what, we group them and we say that knowledge and comprehension is level 1. Oh, whatever you're calling it. If you're doing that, then you can just come and run your way of customizing the grouping. And then you can run CompetencyGenie and it will give you the data. So everyone must be saying like, this is great. This is great, but can I do other competencies? Can I do our required competencies? So right now the tool is free. It's in our website. You can try it out. But I want to show you our tool that we're developing with different competencies. And it takes a second. This is our beta tool. And if you need access to this, please just schedule a meeting with us. We'll give you access to this information here. But as I mentioned, you can do one question at a time, or you can upload a file. And let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to upload the PANS exams. There we go. I'm going to specify that this is my column where it starts. And then CompetencyGenie is going to be automatically tagging your questions. And in this case is with the PANS blueprint. And it would give you the prediction categories and a lot of more information that we have. Once again, this is beta. We're still testing it out, but I'm more than happy to share it with all of you. I would just love to meet with you so I can set up an account for you. So this is what we're really excited about. How can we help you automatically tag questions? Especially if you're the director of assessment and you don't have time to chase faculty to tag questions and you need that report because you have a self-study coming up. So that's how CompetencyGenie can help you. You can start tagging the questions. Now, step by step, the easiest way to do it is if you can do it by exam. So you can go in ExamSoft and download the item analysis report. Then you select that column that has the items. And then you can put that information in a clean spreadsheet, upload it into CompetencyGenie and just say, yes, I agree or not. And then you get the export of the data. And then you can go and tag your questions in ExamSoft. CompetencyGenie is just the beginning. Our customers are not going to have to do what we just showed you, the step-by-step. We're working on bringing CompetencyGenie into our data, into the way we enhance data and the processes. So when the data comes in, we're automatically tagging the information for you, and we'll have a site where you can agree or disagree with the classification, and all of our reports would show you how students are doing on competencies. Now, the road ahead, the integration of CompetencyGenie into Enflux. Right now, as I mentioned, we're testing the the PANS blueprint. We're also testing the American Veterinary Medical Association competencies, the essentials, and for pharmacy, we're doing Appendix 1. And there's more to come, so please send us an email and let us know what competencies you think we should focus on. We want to hear from you because we're here to help you. We're not just here to create cool tools because everyone is talking about AI. We actually want to help you. As I mentioned, our report, the one that we had before, was saving a lot of time, but I still saw room for improvement. As a team, we all saw that we can even do better. And that's when we started developing CompetencyGenie. Betty, thank you. Betty is going to share with all of you best practices because after all, Betty, the conversation that we had is, it's all great, but if you are not efficiently setting up your categories, how are you going to get the data in ExamSoft? The data.
That's right, Ale. Excited to share with you guys 5 best practices, and I'll try to keep it short. The first one is that we recommend that you minimize the number of sub-levels under each category type to at most 5. I mean, 3 ideally, and 5 is really pushing it, so that these simple structures will allow you to create individual categories faster and lead to more efficient reporting processes. The second best practice is around avoiding duplicating category names. So for optimal reporting, it's really important that you avoid using identical category names anywhere in your category structure. So for instance, here you can see I have medical emergencies and pathophysiology as primary categories beneath the curriculum subject area, but also as subcategories beneath Enflux. So one way of navigating this limitation is to add a different prefix to each identical category name. So for example, under curriculum subject area, I could use CSA, medical emergencies, whereas under Enflux, I could use Enflux, medical emergencies. Should you have more than one department sharing your category system, we recommend that you include a departmental reference in the name of each category type potentially, such as NUR, curriculum subject area for nursing, and MED, curriculum subject area for medicine. This really helps faculty to differentiate between department-specific categories. Okay, number 3. So your course, program, and institutional learning outcomes should be descriptive and contain sufficient detail in the names so that they are meaningful to other team members, and your students, right? Particularly when these category names are included in any reports that you share. So I sometimes see learning outcomes written out in a very generic format, like for example, CLO1, right? Course Learning Objective 1, CLO2, etc., which may mean something to the person who wrote them, but not necessarily to anyone else. So, you and your students, right, clearly need to see which learning outcomes they're excelling at and which ones they need to focus on, so that appropriate remediation can happen. Just a quick note, category descriptions don't appear on any of the reports. So, if you listed the category as CLO1, for example, and then you wrote out the objective in the descriptions, students will not be able to see it. So only faculty will be able to see it if they navigate into the category itself. Okay, next best practice. Please remember to use the category permissions system in your portal to control who can view, edit, and tag categories. We recommend restricting editing rights to a small group of users so that you can preserve the integrity of your category system, prevent any sort of accidental changes, and just keep things well organized. You can also restrict the categories available to faculty so that they only see and tag the category types that are relevant to them. This helps them tag items correctly and once again improves tagging efficiency overall. All right, so the last best practice, which is probably the most important one, right? So while you can tag questions with categories after delivering the exams, we strongly recommend that you tag during question creation and that you not put it off, because putting it off will take 3 to 4 times longer, right? If you wait, you'll have to navigate back to the question and then rack your brain since the questions are no longer fresh in your mind and you're like, oh, which category should I use? Which is the right one, et cetera, et cetera. And also if you wait until the end of the semester, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of questions, and then tagging just becomes a monumental task that you'll want to put off even more, right? We've all been there, right? And so that level of inertia is really hard to overcome, right? So avoid that altogether by just tagging, right? Just do it. Or obviously do it with intentionality, but just do it. Okay. All right, so I also just want to highlight a couple of resources with even more category tagging best practices. We have the guide for both legacy and enterprise customers about category tagging, as well as help center articles, and then more videos available to you at any time for specific to enterprise, specific to legacy customers about category tagging, how to do it, as well as best practices that you can carry forward. So more of what I just shared. So that wraps it up in terms of best practices for category tagging.
Thank you, Betty. And like Betty said, just do it. So if you have CompetencyGenie on the side and you want to efficiently tag your questions as you're creating them, you can do the one-on-one, right? You can go in and type your question and classify and know quickly what it is. Just do it so that you can have the data that you need, that your program can have the data that they need, so they can do curriculum evaluation, and that the students have the data that they need so they can improve their studying skills. So now we're going to open it for a Q&A. I love presentations when they're short so that people have an opportunity to ask us questions. First question that I see is, are you only able to do Bloom's taxonomy and with CompetencyGenie, or can we use our own competencies? So at the moment, as you saw, we have CompetencyGenie just with Bloom's. If you would like access to the other one, we can definitely give you access to our beta of CompetencyGenie. But we're adding more and more competencies, and we are thinking about how can we help you enter your own course learning outcomes, your own programmatic competencies, so that our system can help you label those questions with your own categories. So that's all in the works, but we are definitely thinking about that. Any other questions we have? How do you enter the data in Enflux? Well, with Enflux, we have a partnership with ExamSoft, which allows us to connect directly to the system. So once you have a signed contract, we let ExamSoft know, we get access to ExamSoft data, and we're continuously pulling the data so that you have access to all of our reports. No spreadsheets, no setup, no time setting, entering the data into our system. Everything gets automatically pulled from ExamSoft. Betty, do you see any questions?
One question is around, you mentioned that category names should be descriptive. What is the character limit for the length of category names? So for legacy, it's 255, and for enterprise, it's 500. So those character limits are very generous. So hopefully, that will help you guys create more descriptive category titles, names.
Perfect. Another question is CBE AABMC on your list to add to the CompetencyGenie? Yes, it is. But we need to work with people that have data with that. So I'll reach out with more information, but definitely we're looking at that. We have something in the works right now with one of our clients, and I would love to share our model. How do we secure ExamSoft data in CompetencyGenie? That's an excellent question. So the data, it's not getting, our AI, it's in our own servers. It's in the cloud through AWS. So we're not sending the data back to any like AI tools that are out there, like ChatGPT. You have to be careful with those tools, because when you're putting information in there, it's getting stored and getting stored and utilized for other things. So for us, we have a secure way of storing all of your data, and we are not putting it out there to the public or anything like that. And our customers know how we work. We have all of their data. How about the RN and PN Enflux clinic needs? Yeah, I'm just keep adding a list. Please let us know which competencies you want us to work on. We have built a model where we are we can put some data out there quickly. It would take a couple of weeks, maybe a month, to put a new model, and just send us an email or share your email so that we can reach out to you as soon as we have one of those models. Let's see. Have you or are you currently working with any dental schools? Yes, we have one dental school and we have two more coming on board this month. Well, next month. This month is almost done. Can you believe that? Yes, we have two more schools coming on board. And dental competencies are interesting. We would love to work with all the dental schools so that we can come up with some standardized language on some of the competencies, so that we can help you tag your questions. But yes, we are definitely working with dental schools. We currently work across 13 disciplines: pharmacy, MD, optometry, dental, nursing, PA, and more. Wonderful. Sounds good. So those were the questions that we had. As I mentioned, let me go to the next. Please feel free to schedule a meeting with us or send us an email if you would like access to these tools. CompetencyGenie can be found on our website. So if you go to enflux.com, you can just go to solutions and go to CompetencyGenie and simply create an account and you can get access. I have another question. It says, you mentioned that CompetencyGenie will be able to incorporate our own school's learning outcomes. Yes, we're working on that. We don't have a specific timeline, but that's something that's in the works. We'll get in touch as soon as it's ready so that we can have people helping us test the model. But yes, it's in the works. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that this information was insightful and that you learned how Enflux and ExamSoft are working together so that we can help you leverage that data, so that we can help you get the data that you need to make better and informed decisions. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. It has been a pleasure to present today, Betty, with you. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing best practices. And I look forward to more sessions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.